we want to start now. So basically we call it mental toughness during the lockdown for sports persons. So basically we'll try to have the expert views of all you guys, and we'll see that if it's really helpful for people around across the sports arena. So just to welcome the panel, we have got Jonty Rhodes. So everyone knows him, the best fielder ever we had in the world. Welcome, Jonty.
Thank you.
Dr. Onkar Bilgi is the Ayurveda expert. So he has got extreme interest in the sports as well. So welcome again, Dr. Bilgi. We'll be great to have you here.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hello, hi.
Yeah. Mr. Simon Taufel, the well-known, the world's best umpire ever seen. Now, we are really grateful to have you here as well on the same topic, because there are a lot of motivational stuff we have seen.
Thank you very much. Nice to be with you all.
Yeah. And my dear friend Deep Dasgupta, he is an ex-cricketer and an extremely great cricket expert of the country as well. Welcome to this webinar as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. Saba Karim, Saba is my school senior as well. He's doing some wonderful job with the BCCI as well. So welcome to the forum, Saba.
Thank you, Nishant. Such a pleasure.
Good. I can hear you. I'm so happy.
Great.
Finally. Welcome. We also welcome.
On the panel.
Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Rajiv Chaudhri from Australia as well. He's also another cricket expert who's going to help us with quite a few different things. So we'll start this with Simon. Simon, we would like to understand what is mental toughness, point one. Second, how can we build resilience and strength in this area on the lockdown as per on the sportsman, please?
Well, thank you very much. Look, they're two very big questions. That mental toughness is being able to survive the pressure that Jonty, Rhodes and co would throw at you in a normal match day, all the excessive appealing and all of the tough questions that they might ask you. But seriously, mental toughness for me is by definition the ability to control your thoughts and your actions and not let them control you. To really have that sense of purpose and planning, to stay true to your game and to focus on what you have to do and not let that pressure or outside influence really take you in a direction that you're not wanting to go. It's that ability to ignore all of that outside noise or even the excessive pressure you might put on yourself, and probably do more and think less, to really just have that ingrained sense of routine and sense of pathway to be able to achieve your goals. Now, how do we get better at that? Really by practice. I was only telling a colleague and a fellow commentator earlier on today that it's about practicing and making sure that you stay on task and being able to make plenty of mistakes, but also to be able to bounce back from those mistakes. And umpiring is all about making mistakes and to learn from those mistakes and not get too bogged down in the self-pity and the anxiety and the frustration and the anger that would come out of that. So there's a bit of a formula of that, which I'm sure that your listeners would love to know, but I'd like to hear, perhaps before we get into that, what some of the other panelists would like to say about what mental toughness is to them and how they might be able to get through it first.
Yeah, good. Thanks, sir. Thanks, Simon. I'll go to Deep. Deep, I want to know that player quality of training has gone down due to the lockdown, which may be weak under high pressure to perform. So your views on this?
Well, I think it's tough for everyone, to be honest, but it is also a break. I mean, it's also a break from your regular schedule. There's so much you wanted to do, but you never could. So I actually look at this as an opportunity as well, because yes, I mean, here you're stuck at home, locked down, you can't do much, but it also gives you an opportunity to do things that you always wanted to, but couldn't. So I'm going to look at it as an opportunity as far as a player is concerned. And I'm very, very impressed with what Simon had to say about mental toughness. And one of the things, I guess, for sports people, which gets very, very difficult is and most of the other people as well, is we are all stuck with a schedule. We are all very disciplined, right? We all know our schedule. Like, okay, morning I'm going to wake up at this time. I've got practice at this time. I've got training at this time, or I'm traveling. So we've got a schedule kind of sorted. But times like these, I believe the biggest challenge is you don't have a schedule. You can wake up whatever time you want. You can do, and that's just kind of someone like me, and people like us. We are not used to this. We are used to a very disciplined life. And that's where I think, at least what I've tried to do is create a discipline for my own self, create a schedule for my own self, waking up every morning at the same time and doing some other stuff and reading. So kind of fix a schedule for yourself. So, and as Simon mentioned, I mean, if you're going to keep yourself busy doing some activity, chances are you're not sitting back and thinking about the whole crisis or whatever is going to happen in the uncertainties in the future. So that's, I guess, one thing that I'm doing, and that's the challenge that I've faced in the first few weeks of this.
Players.
Okay, now I heard your question.
Okay.
Okay, I look at it as two different aspects, Nishant. Number
Right.
one is, under general or normal circumstances, mental toughness is all about focusing on your own abilities, on your on the talent you have to perform at the right time for the team which you're representing. So this is one aspect of mental toughness, not allowing the environment to control you, focusing only on the controllables, having full faith and remaining focused to the work which is in front of you. Now, these are very strange and difficult circumstances. This overhanging COVID-19 threat has upset everybody's equilibrium. How to cope with it, that is what mental toughness is. And in my opinion, I'm looking at it is how well an athlete is prepared, so that whenever it opens up, are you in the right frame of mind? Are you in the right frame of physical fitness to go out and perform as and when it is required? So I think this is a different kind of a dimension altogether, which none of us has ever faced. So it is a huge challenge, but I feel for all the athletes globally, it is equally important for them to understand that this may continue for long, but it does not mean that you don't stick to your own schedule, to your own discipline. So whatever you have been doing so far, maybe you can add some more variety to it, become more innovative, improvise, but stick to your discipline, stick to your schedule. And only then you can remain mentally tough and physically you'll not feel that you're being challenged unnecessarily. So in my opinion, all the athletes world over, they need to understand this and work accordingly.
Fantastic, sir. Jonty, this is for you. In this current time, how many hours would you say a sports person would spend time doing training, practicing various aspects of sports?
Yeah, it obviously depends on what you have available. I mean, if you're a cricket player and you don't have a net at home, we are locked down here in South Africa. We've been locked down for 5 weeks, and even though it's supposedly ended today, they've now gone into a 4-stage or 4-level stage. So we've only come down one step, which is still pretty much locked down, except you can go exercise, but between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. So they haven't really released, they've now also imposed a curfew at 8 o'clock at night, which wasn't here before. So suddenly it's a case of, you can't dictate again how many hours can, I think what we're also trying to focus on from a mental toughness point of view, and what the other speakers have already hinted at, is that you've actually got to work on what you can control. And I think that was, as a cricket player, because success as a batsman or a cricket player as a batter, it's very fleeting, because you generally not too many players, unless you're Virat Kohli, not out at the end of an innings. Most of us get out, even though we've been fairly successful. So with regards to that, you kind of, what is success if you're a player, and in the field, whether you're batting or bowling or fielding, my focus on success, which kind of gave me an element of mental toughness, was that I was really focused on the things that I could control. And that was the way that I practiced, most importantly. So my discipline, it wasn't just about the game time today. And I think that's what we got to work on. We do have to dig deep. Sportsmen and women around the world and businesses around the world. I mean, there's going to be a brand new normal. This is not just a pause in our usual routine and we're going to go straight back into what we were doing. once all the sanctions or all these sort of restrictions have been lifted. So, you know, you got to be flexible, and it's a bit like being a cricket player. I mean, you need the ability to change where the ball is swinging and seaming, or if it's, you know, turning and bouncing. Simon will tell you, deep as well as a keeper, you know, you don't have much time to react. You've got to stay on your toes. You have to have that ability to be mobile and be flexible and face what's coming in front of you. So I think that's the key now, without saying, sure, I like what Deep says, because with the school, we're having it now, our kids are online school, so we got to be up at a certain time. It does give your day structure. And while we were in school holidays, we actually had a program up until 11 a.m. with our children, which included a bit of fitness as a family. You know, so we had then an art class. My wife's an architect, so she was really handy with the sketching. So we did, just like Deep said, we got ourselves into a routine, because that kind of staves off the insecurity. So, you know, we focus on the process. You can't always guarantee the outcome. I mean, you've got Simon there, yes, undoubtedly one of the best umpires in the world. And he will tell you, you don't always get it right. And we know what it's like as a fielding coach, when someone drops a catch and the screen goes, you know, the cameraman goes on to the owner, and then he goes on to the fielding coach, and you don't know where to go. The umpires have exactly the same thing now with DRS. Every decision has been shown up on the screen, and sometimes, whew, I got it right, or oh no, you know, I didn't get it right. So it's really, really tough to be able to put that behind you. So I think the key there is for us as a cricket player, certainly in the days that I was working to get back in the side, let me focus on the controllables, because there are a lot of things that are beyond your control. And I think from a mental toughness point of view, if you labor on, a bit like my talk, if you labor on focusing on things that you have no control over, those will knock you down. And I think it's really important just to stay focused, regardless of how many hours you spend. And I like what I'm hearing with other people, you know, from nutrition point of view. I don't think cricket players have enough focus on what nutritional requirements they need. I mean, I've actually lost weight during this lockdown because my wife and I, with the family, we've been pretty stringent on not the exercise, but, you know, what our nutritional intake is like. And I think that's where Ayurveda also can play a massive part, because it's about, you know, fixing yourself, building strong blocks and building a strong foundation from the inside. And it's not just going to the doctor asking for a pill, because that's a quick fix. It's not going to last at all. So how do we sustain ourselves through this time and then into the new normal? You know, it's going to be up to us to make a difference. And I think I'm quite excited, even though I am a little bit anxious, because no one knows when we're going back to work on the sporting front. But I'm excited that we can all play a part in making something pretty special, hopefully, from this forced time out and time away. So I didn't answer your question at all. How many?
It does cover a lot of points, actually.
Yeah. Can I just jump in there and build on what John's talking about there? One thing that we do have control over when we have a setback or a negative event like COVID-19 at the moment is we have the power of choice. And we can choose how to respond to this situation. We can either choose to play victim or play the blame game, or we can choose to take control of how we respond by looking after ourselves. And I think Jonty makes a good point there about, well, what is the upside here? What can I do about this? How can I look after my health and my well-being? One of the things that's not getting enough airtime at the moment is actually people looking after their well-being through sleep. And by having that strong routine, by getting used to the new normal, as it were, and really empowering themselves to work on what they can do indoors, as opposed to playing the blame game and blaming the environment for their circumstances, or playing victim that, oh, look, it's a terrible thing, I can't do anything, rather than the power of choice, what can I do?
Correct, I know.
Nishant, can I take it forward from here? This is for all my panelists. You know, we also need to look at the larger picture. I mean, the way I look at the sport which we have played for a specific reason, because it gives us immense joy and pleasure and happiness, and it has its own up and down. So in such challenging times, how do I replicate the joy and happiness? What can I do as an individual? Can I become multi-dimensional? Can I add some more skill as an individual? can I help the needy? Can I help the poor in such difficult times? Will that give me that joy or pleasure which I'm seeking, or which I've always sought from the game which I've played all my life? So I think this is also equally important. If I can add some more skill to my nature, to my character, I think that will give me immense joy and immense pleasure. Same as if I go out and help the needy in these days, all that will give me a lot of joy and happiness. So I think that's another way of looking at it. Just to remain safe in such conditions, I think it's very important. I think it becomes imperative for all of us to look beyond our own individual kind of a nature and look what more can I add to my personality.
Fantastic. So I'll go to Deep on this. Deep, could you just throw some light on how can sportsmen today motivate themselves, because they're all low down into doing workouts and trainings and the lack concentration due to this. Can you just throw some light on this, please?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you've got to be what we call in India jugaad. You've got to be proactive about it. This is what you have, right? For example, if you've got stairs or you've got an open terrace, you do your stuff. There's so much you can do in terms of physically being active. I somehow have a feeling that it might help you as a sports person because you're hungrier when this is off, because you really want to do it. I remember once during my playing days, I said,
really going awesome. I'm telling you.
So yeah, I mean, I remember saying to myself, listen, I want to pick up a bag for 15 days, and what happened after those 15 days was I really was looking forward to going out there, training again and stuff. So I think this actually might help a few people to get hungrier and want to go back and kind of reignite that fire. That's what I honestly believe. As far as staying physically fit, I think all the panelists, I mean, everyone has mentioned very, very valid points of looking at this whole situation I was mentioning, not as a crisis, but as an opportunity to value add to yourself as a product. Do whatever you can, and just try and be. See, these are the times when once this is over, either you're gonna be like a better person or a poorer as a person. So I think these are times where if you look at it from a positive frame of mind, then I only think you're only gonna get stronger. And this reminds me of a phrase, if it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
Fantastic, superb. I'll just come back to Simon again. Simon, do you have any tips to bounce back from setback faster? Point one. And we also know you are a fast bowler. You got injured, so you wanted to come on the greens. The best way you could do was, and the closest way you could do it was as an umpire, and you did some fantastic job as an umpire. Consecutive best umpire award. So these are glorious stuff you had. So can you just want to throw some light on this?
Sure. Well, as I was mentioning before, umpiring is all about mistakes, and a lot of times things don't go according to plan, and we have a setback in front of us. The environment around us at present is a non-desirable one. It's something that we don't want to have happen. So I would love your people to think about the ARIA method. And as an Australian, I'm going to try to be really slow through this. We're talking about ARIA, ARIA. The first A stands for acknowledging, and acknowledge the fact that we have made a mistake or that the environment is not what we want it to be. But we can't change it. So we just acknowledge it and we accept it for what it is. But the first thing is we can't pretend it's not something else. So acknowledge. The second thing is imprint. Is to release that error and to think about, well, just let it go. There's nothing that I can do about it. It's uncontrollable. Let it go. Don't get stuck in the present of playing that victim and that blame game. So acknowledge and then release. The third point is imprint. And think about what you want the situation to be. Think about what you should have done or what you can do. And mentally try to see that image in your mind and tell yourself that I can do this. I will do this. I am going to do this. And that you can rise to the challenge. The fourth component is that acceptance. And I think a lot of times we try to pretend things aren't what they are. And we're not very brutally honest with ourselves. When I've made a mistake as an umpire, it's really important that I have the honesty to accept that I've made a mistake. And that acceptance also is part of that process of moving on to something better. So if your people and the people listening to this podcast can think about the RE method, to acknowledge, to release, let it go, to imprint, to see the opportunity and see what you can do, and then have enormous acceptance and honesty to say, well, let's move on and let's get through this. And I think as Saba was talking about, let's take on this challenge and just find how good we can be. And Deep, you were talking about what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'm a big believer that breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. And here is an opportunity like a 5-day test match. We're probably into maybe day 2 or day 3 at the moment. So let's make sure that we can get through this test match and show some enormous resilience and toughness. And when we do come out of it, we will be a lot stronger for it, and we'll be able to innovate and have some new techniques and some new strategies to take forward into the future.
Deep, you want to comment for something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add what just Simon really mentioned. I mean, there's something that I was thinking about. I was thinking about it as if, playing a 5-day test match, and this is the first morning of a test match. This session belongs to the opposition. So maybe looking at 40 for 4, you're out there to bat and just let everything go. I mean, just survive for this session, and your time will come. That is actually how I was looking at this whole situation.
Fantastic. Rajiv, do you want to come in with a question?
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to ask, and 4 of you are players here, which is obviously, I would put Simon in that category too, because I know he was a budding fast bowler. But Jonty, Saba, Deep, and Simon, to you, don't you think technology could be used during this time, of downtime, where virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence could be used to work on your mental skills, building your mental toughness? Simon, you've done some work with the administrators, and I wouldn't want to take any names, but is there any such module in our systems, or in Saba, in your systems, in your country, and Jonty, for you, where cricketers or sports people have these modules where they can build on their mental toughness through playing certain virtual reality or augmented reality or artificial intelligence based games and stuff like that? Over to you, Simon.
Well, I might let maybe Jonty, if you want to come in here and talk to us about what you might be doing, or what a Paddy Upton might be doing with the players at the moment.
Well, I think from our perspective, are the football guys starting to play online matches against each other in one of the leagues that I was reading? Cricketing wise, I still think it's a great opportunity. At most tournaments or series that you go to, you'll look at the opposition, you'll look at the way that you've been playing against them, and you'll kind of break down your own game, as opposed to, are we using this, the artificial intelligence that we have available, or the technology we have available? We don't have any intelligence here, I think, in South Africa, much of it. When it comes to World Cups, that's for sure. We seem to be our own worst enemies. But, I think it's, again, growing yourself as a player is not just about spending 1,000 hours in the net on a monthly basis. Growing every aspect of your game a little bit is going to make you a far better player, I think. So he has a great opportunity to kind of go through, and most players have these days on, have access to footage of themselves being successful, and also of their weaknesses. So, we haven't done anything yet, and Simon, I'm not too sure if any of the cricket teams are doing, online games against each other. But if you want to start, really ironing out your weaknesses and honing in on what your strengths are, this is a great opportunity. You have access to video footage, and just being able to say, okay, so here I need to build, and here I need to really build on. So I think it's, if I'm quite far removed. As a coach, I could have access to online if I wanted to reach out and give people tips and techniques. But if I was a cricket player now, and knowing what I do, I really would like to improve my game by really sort of drilling down into the dismissals to where I was strong, where I can see that I need work to be done.
Jonty, sorry.
To touch on this point, I think what the Indian umpires are doing at the moment is really good. They're working on their knowledge skills. It's funny, Saba, I'm getting daily emails from a lot of your umpires in India asking me questions about laws and about interpretations and the quizzes and the exercises they're working on. So thanks very much for setting them those tasks. It's really great to be filling my day with laws questions and knowledge-based things. But I think one thing that we're doing by virtue of this podcast is we're showing leadership by working on our relationships, sharing knowledge, but also just making touch with people. And I think business leaders and managers and people who have staff, one of the biggest challenges that they're working through right now is staying close to their people, understanding their points of difference and challenges that they're all individually going through. And I think that's really important for every boss to stay in contact with their staff right now, to show some relationship support and also to find new information. So right now is the time that we probably should be investing in training and upskilling and supporting our people through the social challenges and the distance challenges, if you like, and actually giving them a sense of purpose to get up in the morning. And we go back to that comment early on in the session about maintaining and developing routines and having that real strong reason to get up in the morning and do something constructive and productive with your time.
Yeah,
if I may come in, I think even in India, I mean, a lot of work has been done online. I mean, it's moved to online. I know BCCI, as you mentioned, Simon, and Saba is there. There's a lot of stuff happening in the BCCI as well, coaching-wise. I know, for example, the state that I come from, Bengal, there's a lot of online thing that is happening with the coaches and the players. I think a lot of stuff has gone online, and I think that's very important in these times that you're in touch, as Jonty just mentioned, and Simon, that you're in touch with people. That's very important, just to keep them, upbeat and positive about this whole thing. I think online that way has helped a lot. The technology that there is available. I mean, for example, this technology that we're using right now, I think that has really, really helped. Taking things online and kind of helping people to keep in touch with everyone else.
Rajiv, I think that's a very valid point which you have raised. And
Thank
Simon
you.
has briefly touched on the kind of work which BCCI is doing for the umpires and the match referees. And I'm glad that Simon is being flooded with so many queries. So there are many more to come, Simon. So we'll not let you go off so easily. But I think
There's a monetizing opportunity there, Simon.
I'd like a dollar for a beer, or WhatsApp message, but that's okay.
But at this stage, what we have tried to do from BCCI's perspective is to stay connected, is to keep everybody engaged. And I'm talking about from our centrally contracted players right down to our India A players, to the under-19 junior levels, plus the women national team, their India A squad, and the under-19. So we have a batch of about 40-45 players with whom we are constantly engaging in terms of the schedule, in terms of their skill upgradation, in terms of their fitness levels, as well as their mental happiness. And then our National Cricket Academy in Bangalore, they're working actively with all the national team coaches, and they are in touch with all our players. So there is a constant engagement. There is a great feedback which we receive from the players. So everything is being monitored. So I think, Rajiv, I think it's equally important that we need to look into this area so that, one, we should ensure that the players feel wanted by the organization. So that's what we have done in a big way. And whatever steps we have taken so far has yielded some very positive feedback. So we are very hopeful that we'll continue to do so. And as Simon has rightly said, it is not only about the umpires and the match referees. We are in the process of engaging all our curators and the groundsmen who work for us. So we are also lining up with all the state association so that all their needs are looked into, and not even for a day they should feel neglected. And I think that's what, as an organization, BCCI as well as all our affiliated associations can do in such difficult times.
Superb step. Great, Flavia. Very good step with BCCI, because as long as we can have all the people connected and understanding their roles and whatever validation they can get is a great one. So,
and Simon, can I Simon, one more thing? I'm sure you must have known that this year in the knockout stages of the Ranji Trophy, we introduced the limited DRS, and that was accepted quite well by the players, thankfully. Plus, it gave our own umpires and the match referee a great experience. So next season onwards, hopefully, as and when it opens up, we would like to introduce this for many more.
I was actually I happened to be in India for that Legends tournament that was unfortunately cut short, and I was actually watching some of the Ranji final, if you like, and I did see some of that limited DRS. I'm not sure that maybe everyone agreed that it was them. You know, the problem with consistency is not everybody wants consistency all the time, but I think it's always that blend of how we introduce, and going back to Rajiv's question, we need to use technology in a productive and a constructive way to support what we do and not replace it. And I think if we use technology in this way to remain connected, to actively engage with people, to use the power of the internet and the video clips, and I know that the BCCI has an enormous library of video examples, that it's important to keep challenging ourselves to see how good we can be, to keep those skill levels up, to keep the brain ticking over. And Jonty, hats off to you, mate. You're losing weight at this time. I'm actually putting it on. So you've inspired me to become a bit more active and to eat a bit less.
Great. So basically, let me welcome Dr. Onkar Bilgi again. He got disconnected. So Onkar, we would like to, come to the same question. How lockdown plays psychological effect on body's physiology? Please, can you elaborate?
I missed quite a bit. Technology sometimes can give you stress, right? So I heard initially Simon sir talking about bouncing back. Just about stress or understanding about the mental wellness. It's the key aspect as per Ayurveda goes. And according to me, the ability to respond in a stressful situation rather than reacting to it is a sound mental health. Because every time in field, off field, in your daily chores, you'll always face these situations by which you'll be stressed, and your coping mechanisms are very important, by which you can again come to the point zero or a neutral point. Earlier in Indian families, in earlier generations, we had big families, all father, like uncles staying together, everyone staying together. It was very easy to cope with stress. And when it comes as specific as sportsmen, it becomes even more difficult, because they are aiming every time for excellence. They can't take a second stand. And a scientific way to cope is always one what is looking for. I heard about someone talking about technology. Me and Jonty are working on a technology by which we are able to telecast a meditation program before and after a particular thing, where we can actually map, because most of the things when we talk in terms of Ayurveda or yoga, we say we don't have enough evidence, but trust me guys, the science has stayed for long. In Ayurveda, we actually can put the body types in picture and see how or who can actually respond well in stress. And stress has everything to do, like according to me, stress will be everywhere. How you convert a stress to eustress, to a stress which will give you a purpose, that is important. I always talk about RAP is about routine, acceptance, and purpose. If you have a right purpose to be excelling in your particular field, in your for cricket or any football or soccer, anything, you have to have that purpose in mind and accept lockdown. You can't do anything about it. You have to obey the rule of the land, and if you accept that thing in a right way, but don't give away your purpose, as you can fix your routine right. And when you fix the routine right, you cannot, you have to still rest at the same time, because according to the basic science, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the right time when you can have maximum absorption or maximum recovery. So don't disturb your routine. Keep a strict regimen as per your purpose. And there are many aspects of how to come out of stress. There are pranayama, meditation, we call visualization. You name it, new thing, but everything is mentioned in our ancient texts, which actually just has to be reverberated in the modern way. All those things. Am I going to elaborate?
Fine. So shall we move to Jonty for the next question? Jonty, how does a player's mood play a big role when it comes to an output in training?
Yeah, you can definitely tell players who arrive at a practice session and they're not in a good frame of mind. And I think it's an important part of coaching. And amazingly, at the end of Hansi Cronje's career, sadly for the wrong reasons, he was kicked out of the game. I mean, correctly so. But he was the first. We talk now about player management and people skills, that coaches, they no longer have to be, an ex-international player, as long as they've got good man management skills. And I think it's an important part of a team, in any team, whatever sport industry that you're in. Leadership is such a key thing these days. And Hansi was the first guy. Kepler Wessels had captained us before, and having Kepler Wessels as the captain of South Africa was a bit like having my father, who was a headmaster, the same principle. There was only one way of doing things, and it was Kepler's way. Whereas Hansi now, he had a core group of senior players, and in Kepler's defense, he didn't have any international experience in his side. Only he had played for Australia. The rest of the South African team, whether you were 22 like I was, or 32 like Peter Kirsten, we hadn't played any international cricket. So leadership is and you don't have to be the captain to be a leader. I think that is the key. And you can still be a leader within a structure without being the CEO or the boss or the captain. We all have a role to play in that. And I think, it's a lot easier for me as a fielding coach. My role was slightly different in an IPL environment where I could see, which players were possibly not at their peak. And then a lot of the time we would then make sure that they had a fun and active warm-up. So, that sort of warm-up will then take them into there. So if you arrive and you just kind of let them drag their heels down to the nets, there'll be a very unmotivated player. But if you can get a warm-up game going where everybody's involved and the guys are going around and you'll be able to praise them and lift each other up, because we all competitive. People who are playing cricket, who are involved in the game, we all competitive. You ask Simon, he doesn't like to get it wrong. No umpire likes to get it wrong either. So if you can bring that competitive nature into the warm-up, it does lift the players amazingly. So I think the key is being able to spot it and not think, okay, I'm just a fielding coach, so it's not my role to lift a player. I'm a leader within an organization because of my, not just my seniority, but I've been around for a while, and hopefully I have the ability to understand and read other players. So it's important that as a cricket coach, I don't just arrive and expect everybody to be, because I'm looking for high intensity. My practice doesn't have to be 1 hour of fielding, because if the IPL takes place in April and May, it's the hottest times of the year in India, So how can you ask a guy who's practicing for 2 hours in the net to then come for another half an hour at fielding? So I just have a high intensive, 2 guys that practice together, make sure it's done in 10 minutes, because they are done in 10 minutes. So yes, it's important to be able to identify that, because players do go through a lot. There's a lot of stress. Some of them have big, sort of IPL auction prices to live up to, and don't always, a lot of the overseas players suddenly find it difficult to play in Indian conditions. So there's a lot of players, if you look carefully, you can certainly pick up how they are feeling. And it's important to go, and we're talking about staying in touch now in these times through technology. Just staying in touch sometimes is just a hand on the shoulder. It doesn't even have to be, the right word to say. It can just be, I got your back. Don't worry, I'm here with you. So it is important for leaders to take the health and the wellness of their employees in hand, because if you want productivity, which we all, as a coaching staff, we're desiring that, we want the players to play to the best of their ability. But in a corporate environment too, that, organizations want top productivity from their employees, and concentrating and focusing on, are they okay, and what can I do to make sure that they can play to the best of their ability, is something as a leader it's a part of my responsibility.
Fantastic. Deep, I'm going to come to you for this question, and the next few of this question will also go to Simon after you answer this. So how to avoid screen time and make maximum use of watching the positive content?
Well, that's a tough one. I've got 2 kids, 15 and 11, and it's tough to control screen time right now, because we also have to understand this is not an easy time for them. I mean, we have the tools to manage situations like these. We've seen a lot more world, but our kids haven't. So we also have to be a little more aware of those things and not be very, very strict, is what I believe, and not be very strict about screen time and all, as long as and the other thing I believe is getting involved with them. I mean, that's how you can't, I mean, this generation, I mean, it's not when I was growing up, my parents would say, okay, you don't do this, that means that's it. I mean, I was not going to question them, but this generation is different. So yeah, getting involved with them, watching whatever they're watching. I mean, I think that helps a lot. I mean, and it also helps you to connect. I mean, especially for people like us who travel so much. Again, this is the time when you can connect with your family and make the best use of it. And that's exactly what we do. I mean, there's a lot of online schooling that is happening. So anyways, the first half of the day goes with online schooling and all that, as Jonty mentioned, and you try and spend time with the education part of things as well. And then post that, just to get to know, I mean, I'm just trying to get to know my kids a lot better now. I mean, and what they want, what they don't, what their hobbies are, and try and connect at a different level.
Absolutely. Simon, the same question to you, with your perspective, please.
Yeah, look, Nishant, I think Deep's answered that question, I think, extremely well, and I really probably don't have a lot to add in that space that's going to be earth-shatteringly new, but I would like to pick up on what Jonty was talking before about leadership and about attitude and really getting the most out of you and your team. Look, India has a great history around leadership. You've only got to look at Mahatma Gandhi to look at what servant-based leadership is. And when I look at leadership today, it's really important to focus on sustainable leadership and not short-term things. It's a bit like COVID-19. And we talked about the test match analogy before. This is not a T20. This is not a one-day game. This is a 5-day test match. And at the moment, we're looking for sustainable leadership around success through team. It's only by everyone coming together and everyone doing the right thing and everyone playing their role in the team that we will achieve a good outcome for everyone. You see, when everyone plays their role in the team, when everyone gets behind the team cause, when everyone serves the cause and doesn't get selfish around what's in it for them, then we're going to have team success. We're going to win the test match. And when we win the test match, very rarely do the team members change. Very rarely do the selectors come in and change the players. It's only when the team loses that the selectors come in and they change the team. So I'd like us to think about what does leading from behind look like, making sure that we achieve success through the team, that we don't put our own interests ahead of everyone else's, and that we focus on servant-based leadership. So in a book that I recently wrote called Finding the Gaps, I've talked about various leadership styles, and I look at an MS Dhoni who's actually a very calm and composed, rational type of leader, someone who is calm in a crisis. And I think that's what we need right now, is we need to remain calm. Everything's okay. Yeah, look, there is some anxiety around, but we've got to stay composed. We will get through this. The sun will come up tomorrow. And then we need to look at servant-based leadership and do things that we would expect our kids to do. And so sort of leveraging off that last question with Deep is, as parents, we've got to role model what we want our kids to do. You know, we've got to develop good routines, good habits, and make sure that we're not being excessive in the amount of TV that we watch, or that we're excessive in what we eat, or those sorts of things. We've got to show some really good leadership and role modeling to our kids.
Yeah, thank you. Saba, so now I want you to answer this. By what ways can a player keep mentally fit to think in a very optimistic way about the game post the lockdown?
Nishant, before I answer this, I would like to go back to what Deep had commented. I'm so glad to know that Deep is finally he understands the responsibility of being a father. And you know what? To be very honest, I can understand why Deep is looking so stressed. First time after so many years, he's got to spend time with family at home. My God.
Saba, I've learned all that from my seniors.
And you have got him right at the point, huh?
Okay, now getting back to your question, I think that is That is the key now, Nishant. And this is what we are trying to inculcate in all our players with whom we have engaged so far. In fact, we have prepared a questionnaire also, which has circulated to all the players and the coaches, and they are in touch with all the players on one-to-one basis, as well as on these group chat sessions. So one is well aware of the requirements of all the cricketers, so that they're able to understand what the country and the nation needs from them when they go out to play. So it is a big ask, but I'm very glad to know that we have made definite progress in this regard because of the kind of connect and the kind of engagement we have had with all our players. Simon has also talked about talks highly about leadership, and I think for all of us here, or for all the cricket lovers or the cricket fans all across the world, they should also understand that the cricket administrators of the various cricket associations, they need to play a big role here. How can we get sports back on the field? What are the different variances we can bring in? How do we expect the players to react when they step onto the field without any spectators? Can we have that? What about domestic cricket? For instance, for the past so many years, we have had domestic matches where we don't have too many spectators. So can we, if we have to restart, can we start with domestic cricket? Because it may not affect the large mass. But international cricket always draws such huge people. So how do we understand that? How do we satisfy the need of a sports-loving fan? Because sports also gives the fans a sense of belonging, a sense of achievement, a sense of belonging to, it can be either its club or a team or a nation or an IPL franchise, whatever it may be. So we need to offer something to the sporting fans across the globe also. So I think in all these areas, it is a huge task for all the athletes to stay together in such difficult times. But as and when they step out onto the field, they're able to perform to the best, so that they give that kind of joy to the cricket fans or to the sports fans.
Fantastic. I totally agree with you. This lockdown looks to be a measuring unit, that once the player has already played, then lockdown for 2 months, 3 months, and then coming on to the mainstream game, there may be difference in the performance. So who stays strong is the biggest question now. Dr. Bilgi, now this is again one question to you, and you have to just give us the elaborate idea on this. Ayurveda is all about sound body, mind, and soul. Can you please elaborate this?
Yeah, Nishant bhai, it's again the same thing where I'm saying tomorrow, like today, these athletes in the lockdown, they are still working out to whatever extent they can. They are doing some strength training. Some of them might have gyms. If the purpose angle of it is not in alignment, if they are not doing their small bits of meditation just before getting up, just going to bed, small breathing techniques, which will see when we see talk about mind, we there are many aspects. We don't know how to control the mind. The easy answer to it is control your breath, and your mind will be controlled. The simple aspect when I think Jonty told about having that just a soothing hand on your shoulder, it's so very important. Imagine your mom being around just to pat you. It has a direct impact on your immunity. Your heart rate is more soothing. So your response to any stress is going to be more relaxed. You're not, even if there's an exposure to infection, you're not going to get infected. So just having that calm of mind is very, very, very important in this coming time. And to see that sink, because when you're seeing it's like keeping a horse in stable for 2 months and then making him run an entire thing. It has to be staged, like visualization, what method or meditation method you have to keep it in the muscle memory through different things, through breathing, through there are many aspects in Ayurveda what you can do. Just the counseling part, what Saba sir was saying, all these things are definitely going to help. And the important aspect is to be positive. We are going to come out of it. There are many things happening as we speak. Today we had a meeting in terms of how things are going to happen in public. So guys, just to have a positive mindset is going to be important.
Brilliant, Dr. Bilgi. Now, what I have been doing, Sabavya, to your knowledge also, we've been getting some 50, 60 players. We've just asked, give a 10-second video, what are you doing indoors? Just to have an idea, how do they try to keep themselves fit? and I'm getting some incredible videos with small people. I'm not talking about the biggest of the people. I'm talking about small Ranji Trophy player from Jharkhand, Delhi, Himachal Pradesh. They're just giving those 10-second videos about what are they doing indoors, and it's really very informative that these guys also have some ideas because of technology. They serve, they see whatever they can do best at the lockdown. I will just go to everyone once, and the last is, what is your one-line advice for a player who is going to have a proper match coming in, say in the next couple of months? What is your advice they should do in this lockdown to come on fresh, fit, and performing on the game? So start with Jonty.
Yeah, I think my advice is to use this break as a real refresher to refresh the hunger for the game. I think, you know, especially in India, there's a lot of cricket that's been played, and maybe we just lose the hunger. I think you fully appreciate. I mean, I played cricket for South Africa, the first team in 27 years. They were sporting isolation. So if I tell you it was a privilege to play for my country, it really was, because there was no country before. So I think going back with that same appreciation for the game that we sometimes take for granted, possibly as a player, I think is really important, because we've had it taken away from us for a while. So if we can be appreciative of the opportunity that we got, we will work a lot harder when that opportunity comes around again. So, or we'll certainly take that opportunity with both hands.
Superb. Deep, can you also comment on this one-liner?
Yeah, I think I just put one thing. I said just look at this as an opportunity, as Jonty mentioned. I mean, listen, you're never going to get this time back. You're never going to have these, 40, 45 days to yourself. And when this is over, you're going to go back to some kind of normalcy. And you're going to look back and say, you know what, I wasted those 45 odd days. So think about it now, what all you can achieve in these 45 days and make yourself better. So once this is over, just make sure you're a better person than what you were when this started. So look at this as an opportunity and not a crisis.
Superb. Saba, your view?
Is to have this immense faith that this too shall pass and to remain positive. And if you can get yourself in that kind of a mind frame where you remain positive, then there's so much for you to achieve even in these lockdown situations. First, keep visualizing what you expect. Second is to keep working on your fitness, on not only your physical but also your mental fitness, and work on your drills, watch your videos, learn from your mistakes, and keep this feeling alive that you'll come out of this more stronger, much better person than what you were before this all happened.
Fantastic. Mr. Simon Taufel, your final decision, please.
Use this non-playing season to review, renew, recharge, reflect, and find a way.
Fantastic. Mr. Rajiv Chaudhri?
Well, I think my one-liner would be to focus on three aspects every day: body, beauty, and brain. I think if, giving an example for body is obviously conditioning, doing some physical exercise. For beauty is to ensure that you look good, not just feel good. And for your brain, probably pick up a book like this and read it or something.
Finding the gaps, fantastic.
So find the gap, find your gaps and fix them. I think I would say focus on body, beauty, or brain.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. It was one of the best panel we had. Thanks for your time. And I hope this is going to be really, really incredible stuff for all the budding cricketers. Thanks a lot, sir. Brilliant.
Such a pleasure. Bye to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.